Hi, everyone. My name is Viktoria Muench. I'm from Germany. Currently, I'm an intern at RACT, which is at Vox Media. And to start us off, I would like for you guys to imagine a scenario. So imagine a person that you love and that you trust and that you think loves you and that trusts you. And imagine how you would feel if that person told you that you're ugly, or that you're stupid, or that you're worthless. And imagine if that person told you this not just once, but every day. And also in combination with controlling behavior, manipulation, maybe yelling or threats or gaslighting. This behavior is emotional abuse. And that's the community I decided to focus on this year. Emotional abuse is a crime, is real, and just because it doesn't involve physical violence doesn't mean it's not, it's not a crime, So I chose to work with this community because of a personal experience that I had, and when I was going through it, it took me about 2 years to really realize that what I was experiencing was actually abuse. And that is what a lot of victims do as well. So experts, I've talked to social workers and psychologists, and they said that the most common type of abuse is actually emotional abuse, but it's also the least researched type. And the reason for that is victims, like I said, don't realize it right away, and that therefore don't seek help right away. And then there's just not really a lot of talk about it. And when we look at stuff like domestic violence or even sexual harassment, which is talked about obviously right now a lot, there's stats. These are two right here from the National Domestic Violence Hotline. There's 24 reports a minute of domestic violence and 12 million reports a year. But when you try to find stats like that for emotional abuse, you come out really with pretty much nothing. And that's where I saw the issue. And I wanted to change that a little bit this year. So my goal was, or I gave myself 2 jobs. The first one was to make those victims who are going through it and who don't realize that they're going through it aware that they can seek help. And the other job was to connect those victims that are aware of it to helpful resources. So in social journalism, the first thing we learned was that building trust and showing empathy with your community is like the most important thing. And you need to engage with your community and then really dive in and listen and observe and see what you as a journalist can do to help them and to serve them. So I started off by building trust, and I shared my own story publicly. I wrote a Medium post, and it actually did pretty well. It was featured on Medium's main front page back in February, and was part of the Bad Romance collection. So that was really nice to get that initial feedback and push into the community. And then I obviously, like my classmates, will spend time meeting and interacting with victims online and in person. I was part of Facebook groups, and I went to support groups. And I was really trying to spend time to observe what they were posting, what questions they had, what the main themes were of the things that we're talking about. And by doing that, I found 3 main needs that this community has, which is information, safety, and comfort. Information meaning how do you defend yourself in court? How does emotional abuse relate to the law? Are there even laws in the US? Or how do you spot an abuser? How does somebody even become an abuser? What kind of mental disorders are part of being an abuser? And then safety just being basically having a place where they can share their stories without being worried about their abuser finding out, or just basically finding other fellow victims. And comfort meaning they need to know how to cope with the results of emotional abuse, which can include depression, it can include low self-confidence, and even suicidal thoughts. So really, very serious consequences. So I let this basically inspire my content. So I also made a Medium publication where it's published 12 pieces. I also started a podcast where victims can anonymously share their stories, and I also invited a social worker to kind of answer some questions. I made PSA videos because part of this whole initiative for me was to raise awareness, and I felt like PSA videos were kind of an interesting way to do that. I also made an online hub and an online magazine. So PSA videos, this is one that I filmed a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of an experiment. It's called How Do You Define Abuse? And I basically wanted to see I basically wanted to push out the message that abuse doesn't have to be physical. And I wanted to make people think about the different ways of abuse. I can't show you all of it. I can only show you a minute. So this starts like in the middle. Yeah, so it goes on. So yeah, that was really fun experience because I didn't know, like I said, how it was going to turn out. But people actually stopped, and then some even shared their own stories. So that was a really interesting way to just basically talk to strangers about their personal, really toxic experiences. So yeah, what's happening? Okay. So yeah, then the hub is basically like a website where I compile everything that I did. It has all of the stories I made, all of the podcasts and videos, and also has a quiz where people who aren't sure if what they're experiencing is abuse can answer questions, and then it tells them whether or not they should consider getting help or not. I got good feedback, which is obviously really rewarding to see when people tell you that your heart's in the right place and you're using your skills to help people, or that my work has become a lifeline for many survivors and has impacted a lot of lives. It's just nice to hear that actually what I've spent my year doing helped some people. So on Medium, my stories as of yesterday have been viewed a little over 1,100 times, which is really cool for me. I made a Facebook page as well that has about 175 likes, and I also sent out a survey earlier this year that got 21 responses. And I looked at my top 3 stories on Medium, and they were my testimony and a story I wrote on proving emotional abuse in court, and 100 self-care ideas to improve your life after abuse. And those 3 kind of represent the 3 needs that I had recognized in the beginning, so that was kind of cool to see that connection there. So yeah, moving forward, obviously this is a personal thing for me, so I want to keep building a community, keep raising awareness. There's still so much that needs to be done. Push for education, because that's really where this all is coming from. There's not enough education. So yeah, if you have any questions or want to contact me, this is my page or my website.